Shalom and good afternoon, and soon will be good evening. I first want to bid a shalom to the bride of the Messiah, to the 144,000, and to the nation of Israel. Shalom. Today I bring you part 2 because yesterday we went deep into the word. We tapped into a mystery, a message that was in the beginning. What Torah was teaching us, but we couldn't see because we was blind. Shalom, sis. So today I'm bringing the other part that I basically really forgot, but it worked out because yesterday was a lot to feed on. So I'm bringing the other part that I forgot to mention. But there's still more to come, my brothers and sisters, because now I see why the Father had me to preach on or to teach on the mysteries of atonement and the Feast of Tabernacle, because those two would go hand in hand, and you will see what I mean. So I see why he ordained it to fall on his holy day, only on his holy feast day, known as the Feast of Tabernacles. Okay, now what you see before you is a picture to give you an idea what the Israelites look like when they dwell in their tents and how they have the tabernacle of YAHUAH, the tabernacle of the congregation of Israel in their midst. Okay, to remind us how when the Father set them free from the dragon, Rahab, known as Egypt, Leviathan, the dragon. When he set them free, he brought them into the wilderness. Now, the wilderness that I'm talking about is dealing with the desert. And you'd have to meditate on and ask the Father, why would he do that? This is why. He was teaching his children about faith and giving them the understanding about him, a time to know him, a time to see his great powers, and a time to see his love. That's why he brought them in the desert, so they can see who is the I am. Something to meditate on and think about, because it's going to happen again, because we are in the season of judgment. 6 days has passed from Adam, and now we're in the 7th day. And this is the season for the Messiah to return. As the words say, to watch and pray, but we shall know the season, but not the day and hour of his return. Okay? Which brings us to this. I want to show you another picture of what the Israelites would dwell in during the Feast of Tabernacles. Okay? Bring that picture up. Because I'm impressed for time, this was the best picture I could find at the time, because what they show y'all is something, I think, more of the Gentile way of how my people, of more the Gentile way, as in other words, more modernized. But when you meditate and you reflect on the scriptures, and you can find this in Nehemiah chapter 8. Nehemiah chapter 8. Because the Israelites made their booths, known as tents, known as tabernacles, out of tree branches. Okay, and you can read about that in Nehemiah chapter 8. Nehemiah chapter 8. Okay, because what you see a lot on the internet, it look modernized, y'all. It don't look like it's real. It don't look like what the Israelites were doing. So, like I said, to get some more understanding about what they would dwell in during the Feast of Tabernacles, I want you to read Nehemiah chapter 8. And when you look at verse 15, it gives you the names of the trees that they will use their branches to build their booths, such as the olive tree, pine, myrtles, palms, etc., when they made their booths. Okay. Which brings us to this. Looking for my paper, y'all, my notes, so I can keep myself together today. I want you to meditate on the word tabernacle. On the word tabernacle. What does it mean? What does it mean? I'm just looking for my notes that I had, y'all, while y'all meditating on that word, because remember, like I always say, there are mysteries and messages that his word and his spirit is revealing unto us. But we need to tune in. We need to pay attention to what those messages are. Shalom, sis. Okay. Tabernacle. As you look at this little booth here, they give you an idea what a booth may look like when one build it out of the branches of trees. When you meditate on the word tabernacle, what comes into mind is temple, house, tent, also known as booth, also known as Sukkot. And I think another way you spell that word is Succoth, I believe. That can be found in Genesis for our father Isaac. It was Isaac or Jacob. I want to say it was Isaac who built Booth too during his time of his pilgrimage. Also, what would come into mind, dwelling place of Yah or the spirit of Yah. Dwelling place of Yah or the spirit of Yah. Okay, I'm going to repeat these words again so you can write them down, because now I'm giving you the other part of what we talked about yesterday, dealing with Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 through 5. Well, yesterday we learned about the glory of Yah. And this glory of Yah does tie into the Feast of Tabernacles. So I want you to write down these words again. When we think about the word tabernacle, what should come in mind is temple, house, tent, also known as booth or Sukkot, dwelling place of Yah or dwelling place of the spirit of Yah. Something to really think about. Okay? All right. Now, before we proceed, I need to bring us up to date, starting back with Peshat. Each of these feasts are telling us about the what is, the what was, and what they what yet to come. In other words, each of these feasts are dealing with heavenly things to come. They are also a foreshadowing of the Messiah and a foreshadowing of the bride, the 144, and the nation of Israel. And these holy days and holy feast days will give you understanding of the biblical prophecies. Okay? Let me change my screen. I want you to go ahead and turn I want you to go ahead and go into your Bibles and go to the book of Exodus. We're going to start there first today. Exodus chapter 40. So as we flat back, we're looking at Peshat, which is Passover, Pentecost, which is Shavuot, and now we are in Tabernacles, which is Sukkot. Because when you meditate on these holy days and holy feast days, we are going through stages. We are going through a transition. Okay. And also, these 3 solemn feast days will give us understanding about the Exodus, about the gathering, and will reveal unto you there are more than one gathering. Okay. Well, let's first start with us, because remember, we have transitioned from a physical temple to now we are the temple. Okay. So when we meditate on Passover, what should come to your mind is this: we should become like that flat bread, a bread made with no leaven. For our Father in heaven needs us to empty our minds. Okay? He needs us to empty our minds. He needs us to become a blank slate. So as we are coming into Pentecost, known as Shavuot, on that day, can He fill you with His fullness? Can He fill you with His fullness? For on that day, we receive the promised gift of what the Messiah restored back unto us, Israelites and Gentiles. Go back to the beginning, Genesis chapter 6, verse 3. What He restored unto us is the Spirit. The Spirit. Again, you understand the makeup of Adam. Then you understand why that was most important and why that had to be restored back unto us. So we can be what? Filled with His fullness. Okay? Father want me to say this. It is most important that you understand you cannot receive this fullness until you receive His Son, who is Yahushua HaMashiach. He is the Messiah, the anointed one. He is the second Adam. And He set the example. Go back and look at Passover. He set the example as we're going through each of these stages that is happening in these holy feast days. Okay. Now we have been filled with His fullness. We will have our Father mind. In other words, we will think like Him, walk like Him, bear His characters. Okay. Perform His commandments. Keep His instructions. All right. Most important, to have His knowledge, His wisdom, and His understanding. It's very important that you receive that, because you can't go into the third solemn feast stage until the first and the second is fulfilled. Okay. Now for the third stage, Tabernacles. It's 2 parts to this. Okay. So in order to enter into His temple, into His tabernacle, into His dwelling place, you must be filled with the fullness of God. In other words, His Spirit must dwell in you first. Okay? And the only way to receive that, you must receive His Son, who is the righteousness and the salvation of Yah. Okay? Remember, He is the left and He is the door. All right? Like I said, it's 2 parts to this. Okay? So to enter into his tabernacle. What did that mean? That would be your homework assignment. That's another mystery on that. Okay? But the part we're going to focus on, I'm trying to think here. Beside us being the tabernacle of Yah. That's another part. Okay? And we're going to talk about it, and we're going to read Revelation 21. Not the whole chapter, but it's 2 verses we're going to end today from that chapter. Okay? So we are the tabernacle. We are the temple now. We are the building. We are the house that contains or that holds the Spirit now. The Spirit of Yah. Okay? All right. Now that we know that, for those who are not able to dwell in tents or booths made of tree branches, Father want me to let you know it's okay. We're covered. For you are his tabernacle. Okay? What we are to do, we are to submerge ourselves in his word. We are to feast upon his word and drink from his waters that will fulfill our thirst. Like I said, he's speaking mystery, he's speaking messages here. For those who are not able to get a physical tent, you're covered. Now, those who are able to have a tent, it's okay to practice those righteous acts. Okay? But do not be harsh or judgmental towards your brothers and sisters who cannot, but they are covered. Also, you can make a tent over your bed. That's a way to do that too. Just get a long sheet, get some string or whatever, support, and you can make a tent to cover your bed for those who want to participate in that righteous act. Okay? But it's more than just participating in a righteous act. We need to understand what the righteous act is teaching us. What is the message? What is the mystery that our Father wants us to hear and to understand? Because it's relating to what is coming in judgment. Okay? So I done said enough. Let's get going. Okay, Exodus chapter 40. Okay? Exodus chapter 40. We're going to read verse 34 to 35. Okay? Then a cloud covered the tent of the congregation. Remember, the word tent is the same as tabernacle. Okay? Then a cloud covered the tent of the congregation, and the glory of YAHUAH filled the tabernacle. Do y'all see the connection with the carnal to the spiritual? Do y'all see now we are the tabernacle, and those who receive the new covenant, which is the marriage, which is the testament, we now become filled with this glory. Okay? I want you to see the connection. Because this glory of YAHUAH filling the tabernacle, his tabernacle, y'all, is telling us something very deep here. Right? Let us keep going. And Moses was not able to enter into the tent of the congregation because the cloud abode thereon, and the glory of YAHUAH filled the tabernacle. I don't know about you, but I can visualize his glory filling the tabernacle, which represent what I just told you earlier. On Pentecost, we shall be what? Filled with the fullness of Yah. Filled with the fullness of Yah. Okay? He shall fill us with his spirit. Okay? It's very important to understand why that must be. Go back to the beginning. When you understand who Adam is, then you will understand why you have to be filled with the fullness of Yah. Okay? Now we're going to Revelations chapter 21. And I hope I remember to come back because I need to talk about these 3 solemn feast days and how it relates to the Exodus and to the gatherings. Okay? I hope I remember. If I don't, I'll come back here another time and discuss that. Right? But first, let us go to Revelations chapter 21. As I'm going there now, the fathers remind me what else I forgot. I left something off yesterday. So we learned yesterday about the glory of God, the glory of Yah. And we learned what that glory is. Okay. For those who are new, who do not understand what I'm talking about, you're going to have to watch part 1. Go to the video description box to watch part 1. It is about 2 hours. Okay, 2 hours. So make time. You can split it up, but you definitely need to watch part 1 to understand what I'm talking about with the glory of Yah. Okay, because yesterday I gave some examples of those that bear the glory. Now we all know our Father YAHUAH bears it, right? He's the first in all things, right? We also know Adam bear it, okay, because he's made in their image. Go back to Genesis. From the sacred books, such as 1st, 2nd, 3rd Enoch, you will learn that Noah buried it. Noah buried. That's the one I forgot to mention yesterday. He bared that glory too. Then we learned that Moses buried, and most importantly, just like his father, his son, Yahushua HaMashiach, bears it also. He's the second Adam. Okay? Then we also learn, according to biblical prophecy, okay, we learned that the bride and the 144,000 will also bear this glory when the Messiah returns, when he gathers us. Okay? To understand who is the bride, the gospel, the New Testament gives the definition. The bride is made up of Israelites and Gentiles, males and females, circumcised and uncircumcised, Scythian, barbarian, etc. All of those who receive the Messiah, all of those who receive salvation, okay, can partake in receiving the gift, in receiving the glory of Yah. Okay. Now, what I left out yesterday, we have another that will bear the glory. Remember, I'm telling y'all, Torah foreshadows heavenly things that was to come. For these heavenly things was established in the beginning. In the beginning, before the fall of Adam. Okay? Very important to know. Okay? So now we're going to learn what else that is to come that was established in the beginning, okay, that will bear the glory of Yah. Okay? Revelations chapter 21. A new heaven and new earth. The heavenly Shalum with a full description thereof. She need no sun. The glory of God is her light. You want to underline that, but that's not, what's the word? The answer. You got to watch part 1 to understand why Yahushua, the heavenly Yahushua, I'm not talking about the earthly Yahushua, okay? But you need to understand why the glory of Yah is her light. That's not the answer. You got to understand it, because the same thing that took place in Torah with Moses, the same thing that took place in the book of the Kings and in the books of Chronicles, okay, was already foreshadowing what would take place with the heavenly Yahushua. This one is kept in the heaven. The new Jerusalem is kept in the heavens until her appointed time to come. Okay, so you want to underline that. I'm going to read this part again. She need no sun. The glory of Yah is her light. Again, you need to understand, what is the glory of Yah? It's hidden, y'all, but it's there before our eyes, and it's been there. Even the Messiah talks about it. Okay, it's in the gospel, right there before your eyes. David knows of it. Solomon knows of it. And it's also revealed in the Apocrypha. Okay, let us keep going. And remember those examples I gave unto you. Our Father bears it. Yahushua bears it. Noah bared it. And Moses bared it. Okay. The kings of the earth bring their riches unto her. Okay. So we're going to look at 2 verses. It might be 3, y'all. Okay. So I'm going to start reading at verse. Let me see here. Let me see which verse. I got to go to my notes again. Sorry about that, y'all. I want to make sure I just go straight to the point today. I don't want to talk too long to you. Let's see. Here we go. Looking at my notes, we need to go to verse 11. Verse 11. Now we will read the scripture up higher. Okay. So we can understand what verse 11 is talking about. All right. Revelations chapter 21, verse 9. And there came unto me one of the 7 angels, which had the 7 vials full of the 7 last plagues, and talked with me, saying, Come hither. I will show thee the bride, the Lamb's wife. And he carried me away in the spirit. There's something about when I read that. Y'all, do you see what I see, y'all? Notice here that he's speaking to John, and notice how John is able to see these things. For verse 10 is telling us he was carried in the spirit. Okay? We want to underline that. All right, let us continue to read. And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me the great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from Yahuwah. Okay, so this Jerusalem is coming from the heavens, y'all. This is the place that the Messiah was talking about that would be prepared for the bride of the Messiah and for the 144. Okay, something to meditate on. So let us continue to read. I don't want to say this part yet, but I just want to say this again. Notice how John is able to see these things. He has to be in spirit to see these things. So he wasn't in the flesh when he saw these things. He was in the spirit. Okay. Verse 11, having the glory of Yah. Underline that, y'all. So this holy Jerusalem that was coming out of heaven, this holy city, will have the glory of Yah. So it goes on to explain what that glory is, y'all. And her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like jasper stone, clear as crystal. Okay. And it goes on to say, and had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. Okay, so when we go back to verse 11, it's telling us how valuable this glory that is upon the new Jerusalem. Okay, so it's telling you it is worth more than any precious stone. It is greater in value. I'm laughing because for those who have watched part one, you'll understand what I'm talking about because David talked about it. Solomon talked about it. Okay. So now we have another that bears this glory. Think about it, y'all. This glory is on our Father and on his son, Yahushua. This glory was seen upon Noah and Moses. And this glory will also be upon the bride and the 144. And now we see that this glory will be on the new Jerusalem, the heavenly Jerusalem. This place will bear that same glory. This is deep, y'all. Y'all want to meditate on that one. Okay. Now let us go to the next verse. All right. In Revelation 21. And that verse is, let me go to my notes again so I can pull that up. That is verse 23. Okay. Verse 23. It goes on to say that this heavenly city, y'all, had no need of the sun, neither of the moon to shine in it. Y'all want to underline it because we are now getting a insight about what would be in the new heaven and new earth to come. Okay, because we know heaven and earth is going to join each other very soon in the ordained holy place that the Father has set, that was set in the beginning. Okay, go back to Genesis, y'all. Go back to Torah to understand where the heaven and the earth will connect again. All right. But also, we see that this holy city will have no need for the sun, no need for the moon to shine in it. Something to think about, y'all. All right. For the glory of Yah did lit it. There it go again. It said what? The glory of Yah did lighteth it. You want to underline that. Okay. Again, I know some of y'all wondering, what is this glory that Sister Yiddy is talking about? You got to watch part one. For this glory was created before all of us. This glory is a part of the Elohim head. And that's all I'm going to say on that. Okay? You got to watch part one because your mouth going to drop. It's going to drop because I'm telling y'all, these Pharisees and Sadducees and Herodians of the day, they don't want you to know about it. Okay? And definitely these principalities of darkness do not want you to know about it because they fear the glory of God. There are no match for it. Okay? They tremble before it. All right? And when you have it in you, dwelling in you, remember you are the temple, you are the tabernacle. They cannot stand before you. Okay? Which kind of remind me of this. Anybody ever watch Lion King? I think it was Lion King, the first one. And the King Lion was, I think his name was Mafusa. I cannot say his name right. But however, these hyenas was always looking for a way to take over because they didn't like the rules that was established in the kingdom by the lion. Okay. And as they was talking, there was a scene that was talking about the king lion, right? And one of them would say his name, and the other would would um would be shaken. He would tremble. Okay. And every time they say that King Lion name, the other hyena would just shake. And the reason why I bring out this example, because when you understand the Elohim head, and especially the glory that's with it, then you understand why the powers of darkness shakes before it, even when you say the name, because they know they're no match for it. All right, let's keep going. For the glory of Yah did light it, and the Lamb is the light thereof. Again, to understand why the Lamb is the light of thereof, you have to go back to the beginning. Go back to Genesis. Remember, the Lamb is the second Adam. He set the example of what the bride and the 144,000 shall become. Keyword, regeneration. And go back and study the makeup of Adam. Okay? So now we're going to the precept to get a full understanding. What does this mean that this holy city will have no need for the sun and moon, because we know our Father in heaven is not going to put away the sun and the moon. We know that based on what the scriptures tells us. So we need to go to the precept for verse 23, which is Isaiah chapter 60, verse 19. Isaiah chapter 60, verse 19. I want you to pause your screen so that way you can have these other precepts for Revelation 21, as well as the side notes. Okay? Now let us go to Isaiah chapter 60, verse 19. So we have the understanding that the glory of Yah is going to light up that holy city that will come out of the heavens, known as Jerusalem. But what does it mean? It will have no need for the sun and moon. Okay? Okay, I'm going to read the chapter summary unto you. Isaiah chapter 60, the glory of the church. Y'all hear that again? The glory of the church. And we know church mean what? The bride. For we are in a marriage. We are in a covenant with the Messiah and with our Father in heaven. The glory of the bride in the abundant excess of the Gentiles, and the great blessings after a short affliction. But I don't want me to remind you also the word church, when you go back in Torah, actually means the congregation of Israel. To understand the makeup of the congregation of Israel, you need to read Exodus chapter 12 and Deuteronomy chapter 29. For what happened then is also happening in the new covenant. You have Israelites and Gentiles who partake in the covenant. Whatever law the Israelite followed, so did the Gentile that dwell with them, okay, that joined their nation, also follow the same law, the same covenant that would what? Lead you to eternal life. Like Solomon said, there's nothing new underneath the sun. All right, let's go to verse 19. Let us get an understanding why this place will have no need for the sun. All right, let me see if I need to read a little higher, y'all. No, we're going to start at 19. It says here, the sun shall be no more thy light by day, neither for brightness shall the moon give light unto thee. But YAHUAH shall be unto thee an everlasting light, and thou God, thy glory. This is why when you come to the holy place, when they come to the land of Israel, and they are heading towards the new Jerusalem that came out of heaven, the light for that place will not be the sun, and will not be the moon. It will be coming from our Father, for he bears his glory. His glory is upon him, y'all. So he is that light. Again, that's not the answer that I'm talking about, y'all. You got to understand that glory that is upon him and why he shines so bright, y'all. Okay? But our Father would be that light. Also, this verse is telling us here that what he would dwell with us again. He would be with us. Right now, he's dwelling in what? In our bodies, which is our tabernacle. Okay? We have become the tabernacle for right now. So he's dwelling within us. Okay? Until his holy city can come, and then he will dwell there. And we will be with him. Those who are chosen, such as the bride, will be with him. Okay? And the 144 will be with him. They will be living in his tabernacle, in his dwelling place. It's there in the scriptures. Read Revelation. Read the prophets when it comes to the bride and the 144. The Father and the Son is our inheritance. That's the greatest inheritance one can receive. A mystery that many do not understand. Now, I know you probably have a question, what about Israel? Yes, Israel does have an inheritance. Go back and read the prophet writings. The prophet Ezekiel is given the blueprint of what Israel's inheritance is. But their inheritance is not the same as the bride and the 144,000. Revelation reveals a lot, but it's also confirmed by the gospel. Remember the parables of what the Messiah told unto us, dealing with the king's feast, dealing with the 10 virgins. Go back in Revelation and look at the marriage supper of the Lamb. Not everyone is invited, whether you are Israelite or Gentile. Not everyone is invited. Okay? Something very deep here. Let me keep on reading before I keep talking again. Verse 20, thy sun shall no more go down. Do y'all hear that? Their sun shall no more go down, neither shall thy moon withdraw itself. For YAHUAH shall be thy everlasting light, and the days of thy mourning shall be ended. Ooh, that's so beautifully put. Because when you understand what that means, no longer in that place will we dwell in darkness. No more. We shall always be what? In light. We shall always have what? joy. Like that old saying, joy comes in the morning. Why? Because that's when the light comes up. That's when we are no more in bondage. We are no more captives of the principalities of darkness. We are in liberty. We are set free. And we have been restored back to our proper place. We have been restored back to the status of Adam. Okay? So in that area, the sun is not going to give us the light, nor will the moon give us the light. That light will be everlasting, always ongoing, for it will come from the Father as well as the Son, because they bear the glory. Okay? And that's something else. This is another good chapter you can read in your spare time. So just to reflect on what I just shared with you, because this was the piece that I did leave off from yesterday when we was talking about the mysteries of the tabernacle, the Feast of Tabernacle, and the mystery of Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 through 5. Okay? So when we learn what that light in the heaven represents, we learn that it represents the glory of Yah. But there was a deeper mystery behind that too. Okay? And now now that we had just discovered, now that we had just discussed this part, forgive me, y'all. I'm just trying to find my notes. But now we see the foreshadowing of heavenly things now. Okay? So now we see or have an idea what the new Yahushua will look like. She's gonna be what? Clothed in light, clothed in our Father's glory. Go back, the Father's telling me to tell you, look what happened when His Spirit, when the cloud, when His glory filled the tabernacle. Look what happened with Moses. Look, go back and meditate on it. Then it happened again when Solomon built the temple into a building. Okay? So they transitioned from a tent to a building. And the same thing happened again. And then when the Messiah came on the scene, He changed it all up. He made us what? The tabernacle. But during His 3.5 years of preaching the gospel, He gave us a peep of what that looks like to have His glory upon you. Okay? So as we see here, Torah were also foreshadowing about the heavenly things that existed in the beginning before the fall of Adam. And now we're seeing what Torah is saying unto us. After judgment, all things will be restored back to what the Father created everything to originally to be. So, I'm going to say this again. Will all things go back to what they should be? Those who are worthy, who are faithful, who has a heart that Yah takes a delight in, who has good works, shall too partake in this glory. They too shall bear it, which will what? Make them to be Adam again. Okay. I'm just sitting here meditating right quick, y'all, because this is deep here. I don't know about y'all, but this is really deep to see. So the glory of the Most High was not only upon our father, it was upon Adam, Noah, Moses. That's right, sis, awesome. The Messiah. It was soon to be upon the bride. I'm talking about in its fullness, in its completion. Because we're not completed yet, y'all. We become completed when he returns. So it will be upon the bride in the 144. And now the last piece that I have left off from yesterday is going to be upon the new heavenly Jerusalem. And the Father gave us a carnal example in Torah, also in the books of the Kings, in the books of Chronicles. This is deep. Okay? All right. Now, going back to the Feast of Tabernacles, it also, not only this feast, there are 3 feasts. There's the Feast of Unleavened Bread, we have Pentecost, and we have Feast of Tabernacles. They also give us the mystery of the heavenly message about the Exodus, about the gathering. And the first one that set it off was the Messiah. This is why the Father had commanded the Israelites to keep what? An omer of the manna to represent him. Also, this is why he commanded the Israelites to bring him the sheaf-weight offering. That is an omer of the first fruits of the barley harvest to represent the Messiah. For he was the first one to set it off, dealing with the gathering. All right. So when you study these 3 feasts, they also relate to what? Agriculture, right? So it's dealing with what? Reaping the fruits of your harvest, gathering the fruits of your harvest. Okay? We're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 16. Actually, we need to go to Exodus chapter, let me find my note here. See here. Before Exodus chapter 16, we need to go to, before Deuteronomy chapter 16, we need to go to Exodus chapter, I'm trying to find it again. I had put my marker there, but my marker had came out of place. Okay, I'm getting close, y'all. I hate when that happens. I had my stuff marked off and know where I want to go. Okay, I think, okay, here it go. It's Exodus chapter 34. Exodus chapter 34. And we're going to go to verse 32. Okay, Exodus chapter 34, looking at verse 32. For it says here, And thou shalt observe the feast of weeks of the first fruit of the wheat harvest, and the feast of ingathering at the year's end. Now we know that the feast of weeks and of the first fruit of the wheat harvest is talking about Shavuot, which is Pentecost. But it goes on to say about another feast, and in this verse is calling that feast the feast of ingathering at the year's end. Now, when you go in the Hebrew word, you're going to find that it means tekrafar. Tekrafar. So, what is the feast that is what close at the year's end? Because remember, there was a change when the Father instructed the Israelite when to keep or when to start the year. You have to understand what was the original beginning of the year to understand this verse, and why the feast of tabernacle is known as the feast of ingathering at the year's end. Here's why. Going back to Genesis, y'all. When we look at the sun and study the sun's circuit, you will learn that the sun begins in the 7th month and end in the 7th month. Okay, I want to say this again. The sun begins in the 7th month and end in the 7th month. All right. As well as the moon will be close to the sun's 7th month, depending on the moon circuit, because the moon circuit is short of so many days. All right. But what the sun does, it indicate unto us what season we are in, because it works with Mazzaroth. All right. So in that 7th month, it is a sign unto us. It is a decoration unto us, letting us know this is the month of the ending, meeting the beginning. Okay, because when you look at the season that the 7th month enter into, which what today they call it fall. I think right now the Bible only has one word for it, which is winter. That this is a time that we need to get everything in. And why? I mean, when you meditate on it, you need to think about why. Why is this known as the Feast of Ingathering at the year's end? Well, we got to prepare for what? Winter. Now we're about to go deep here now for a second. All three feasts, what we are harvesting to what? To prepare for winter. Because in winter, what? You can't grow anything. Okay? It's too cold to be out there working the land. Right? It's a harsh time, right? But also winter represent what? It is time for you to rest from your labors. It is time for you to enjoy the fruits of your labors. Just like the Proverbs talk about the ant, what he works all summer long, so he can what? Prepare for winter. So he can what? Enter into rest. And then it starts all over again. Okay? So the Feast of Tabernacle is known as the Feast of Ingathering at the year's end. And you'll see why when we go to Deuteronomy 16, because that is the last period of time they have to gather all their produce or their crops before winter come in. Okay. Deuteronomy chapter 16, we're going there next. As I'm going there, I want you to start meditating on why or how this relates to the Exodus. Very important. How this relates to the Exodus, or to the gathering, or to the redemption. For the three groups, for the bride, for the 144, and for the nation of Israel. Deuteronomy chapter 16. The feast of the Passover, or weeks of tabernacles, every male must offer as he is able at these 3 feasts of judges and justice. Groves and images are forbidden. Okay. Let me look at my book to see what we're going to go down to. Okay, we're going to go down to verse 13. And we're going to read down to 17. Thou shalt observe the feast of tabernacles 7 days. Remember, this is the feast of the ingathering at the year's end, for it falls around the 7-month time, for it falls in the fall, for it falls in the equinox of the fall, known as Tekrafar. It falls around that time, y'all, letting us know it is time to what? Get everything in, for winter is on its way. Okay, let us keep reading. Thou shalt observe the feast of tabernacles 7 days. After that, thou hast gathered in thy corn. Corn means what? A type of wheat or a type of grain that our people grew. Remember, they grew. One of the 2 grains they grew was barley and wheat. Okay, that's what that means. Okay, after that, thou hast gathered in thy corn and thy wine. Where did the wine come from? It comes from the new grapes that was grown. It comes from the grapes that was grown in summertime. Summertime. Same thing with wheat. Wheat is only ready in summertime. Okay. Verse 14. And thou shalt rejoice in thy feast. Do you see what our Father wants us to do during that period of time? These feasts was not boring. It was a time of delight, a time of to be joyful, a time to fellowship. Okay. And to what? To enjoy the fruits of your labors. Just as when he works, do he not enjoy what he created? Well, he wants us to do the same thing, for we are made in his image. Just as we work the earth, to plow the earth, to sow the earth, he wants us too to enjoy the fruits of our labors. Okay? And thou, son, shall rejoice in thy feast. And thou shalt rejoice in thy feast, thou and thou son, and thy daughter, and thy manservant, and thy maidservant. Y'all need to underline that, because there's a lot of false doctrines that's going on, how they're going to treat their servants. And to understand what a servant means, y'all need to study Torah. For servants have rights. They have rights. It is not the same way how this beast has treated us. And to meditate on this, are we not the servants of Yah? Are not the Israelites the servants of Yah? Read Leviticus, I think it's in Leviticus chapter 26. You will find it. Just do a word search. Type in servant and get the true definition of what it means to be a servant, according to our Father's definition, not according to the world or what the world has done unto us Israelites. Okay, but I do want to point out, do you see how our Father is fair? Not only do he want you to enjoy this feast, but he wants your men servant and your maid servant to take part in it too. Right? And the Levite, the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow that are within thy gate. So everyone that are within our gates, or that are within our homes. He want us, we want all to partake in this holy day, in this holy festival day. The stranger, the fatherless, the widow. See how our Father do? Now he know how to rock, okay? He know how to throw what most people say a party. But you know, you can see his love because he includes the stranger, the fatherless, the widow. He thinks about those who do not have. He thinks about those who some Israelites, not all, may consider to be beneath them. But our Father don't work like that. Okay, let's keep going. Verse 15. 7 days shall thou keep a solemn feast unto YAHUAH thy Elohim. So we got to keep this feast for what? For 7 days in the place which YAHUAH shall choose, because YAHUAH thy Elohim shall bless thee in all thy increase and in all the works of thy hands. Therefore thou shalt surely rejoice. So that's another reason, okay, why we should want to participate in this feast, because we want our Father to bless us. Remember, the original trade or the original job of Adam, what was to work the lands. Okay, we want to see those blessings. Now, I know some of y'all probably saying it's in 7 days. When you go and read Numbers 29, you see why it says 7 days. But on the 8th day, that day is known as the great day. Okay. Again, read Numbers 29 to get the inner details about the Feast of Tabernacles. Okay. So as we just read here, we learned that this feast is dealing with what? Gather in your last crops, your last harvest before winter to come. Because in winter, we're supposed to what? Rest. Now for the mystery of the breakdown of the gatherings. When you look at the 3 solemn feasts, such as Passover, Pentecost, and Tabernacles. When we look at the first one, it represents what? The first one who would set it off, which is Yahushua HaMashiach. And with him, he set the what? Captives free out of Sheol, out of hell. In the Greek tongue, they say Hades. Okay? Because that group could not enter into paradise because of what has happened with our parents, Adam and Eve, because of them falling. So they had to wait until the second Adam correct the first Adam mistake. Right? Then when we look at the second harvest, which is Pentecost, wheat. Now, when you understand how the wheat is harvested and how it goes through a purification, the reason I said purification, that's a chastening taking place with the wheat. It reminds me of the bride and the 144,000. Okay. And then when I look at the third feast, also I need to go back, reminded me, there is a remnant of Israel he has chosen to gather to. And then when we look at the last feast, that is the last gathering that would take place. So when you study biblical prophecy, we ought to know that the Messiah has fulfilled his part first. For he is what? The elect. So he is what? The first in all things. And he is the second Adam, for he set the example what should take place with the bride and the 144,000. Okay. Now we're dealing with the nation of Israel. When you read the prophet's writings, they are letting you know there will be the first group of them that will enter into his wilderness first. Well, a purging has to take place amongst them. Okay? And in that purging, the rebels will be purged out. And those who are left will be allowed to enter into the Holy Land. Okay? And they will be protected by the cloud by day and the fire by night. And they would dwell in a place They would dwell. Do y'all hear that key word? They would dwell in a place in the Holy Land, which is Israel. They would dwell in that place without walls. A place without walls. Okay, there we go about dwelling again, about tabernacle, about house. Okay, because we know when we studied Feast of Tabernacles, it's in the video playlist of the holy days and holy feast days. You want to learn about the great day, the day of restraint, because when we learn about tabernacles, about dwellings, about his house, that is the place of refuge. That is the place of his presence to protect you from his wrath, from his judgment that he's going to release upon the earth. Okay? So that's what that chosen remnant. Read, I think, Jeremiah chapter 3, and you will see, because he's going to tell you, I chose one of this family, this one, and this one, and this one. It's going to be a selection in the first one. So when we get to tabernacle, the last Engathering, these are those who had to face the beast. Read Revelation 12. Okay? Because remember, not all of Israel go in the wilderness. There are those who do not make it in the wilderness who has to face the beast. And it's a reason for that. Father knows what he's doing. This long suffering of being in this world of darkness is to produce or to make you become what he needs you to be. While at the same time, it's going to save your soul and lead you to eternal life. Do you hear that? It's going to save your soul and lead you to eternal life. It may seem harsh to you, but when you understand our Father, okay, and you understand what he's doing, and when you understand what you are up against, because y'all don't understand about these principalities that are against our Father and his Son and the glory, okay? They are against his glory too, okay? So you don't understand what you're dealing with, but he do, because he made them. He know them. So he has a reason for why he's doing for what he's doing. Okay? So when we meditate on all this stuff, because like I said, it's a lot more mysteries and messages that these days are revealing unto us. And I can't put it all in one video. I have to do a little bit of time, because I love how the Father worked with me when I was into atonement. And when he showed me something, I said, okay. And in my heart, y'all, I really want to present it either near atonement or closely after. But the way things turned out, it fell in the Feast of Tabernacles. But now I understand why it did. Because once I share with y'all what was in atonement and how it crosses over into tabernacles, your mouth gonna drop. And so, and same thing, my mouth dropped. I said, okay, Father, now I understand why. So now I understand everything does happen for a reason in its due season. Okay. So I'm trying to think of anything else I need to say. I do want to say this: for the nation of Israel, there is different times they will be gathered, just like we have different times of different times of harvesting these things that was grown in the land. Okay. Same thing with Israel. There'll be different times of their gathering. And the Father has his reasons why. And I understand them. It may seem harsh, but I'm telling y'all, he really loves you. He is working hard in his vineyard to save you, because we don't understand, again, what we are up against, y'all. See, everybody keeps talking about Esau, but y'all not talking about the one who's working through Esau. Y'all don't understand that hidden one behind the scene. See, Moses understood it. He saw him. Even the Messiah understood it and he saw him. But we Do you hear me, Israelites? We're not seeing it because we're caught up in that hidden one distractions that he set before us. We're caught up in these stumbling blocks that he set up for us. This is why you need to receive the salvation and the righteousness of Yah, because that is the only way you're going to be able to see what this hidden one is doing. And those other principalities and spirits that has joined him. Okay? Then when you see what you up against, then you're going to understand why the Father is going to have different gatherings, because some of his children aren't ready yet. So he got to what? Put them through what? A purgement. A chastisement to get them to be where they're at. Father's telling me to remind you, remember the book of Job. The potter is molding and shaping the clay in what he needs them to be. Okay, so I had said enough. Yes, sisterhood, we will be gathered in different stages. Remember, the bride of the Messiah and the 104 and 144 is different from the nation of Israel. Their inheritance is different from the nation of Israel. To help understand that, because it's all in the gospel, because the Messiah give a lot of parables. Look at the parable of the 10 virgins. Look at the parable of the king's feast. Then go to Revelations chapter 12. Make sure you read the 16:11 summary of chapter 12. But the whole book of Revelation is good to read, because then you'll see it. With the 144, you can get information about them in Revelation 7, Revelation 14, and Revelation 15. Which also you want to read 2nd Ezra chapter 2 in the Apocrypha, for it goes in more detail about that great multitude in Revelation 7. Then you want to read Revelation 19, because I'm telling y'all, the marriage supper of the Lamb will not take place in the earth. That is in the heavenly realm. Again, when you understand that, then you will understand the parable of the king's feast, or what the Messiah is saying. Then you will also understand the parable of the 10 virgins. Okay? Okay, I'm glad it helped. Also, there's a video playlist dealing with the rapture doctrine, dealing with the eagle wings, dealing with some other stuff that would give you more scriptures where you can do more research. But everything I'm sharing with you is witnessed in Torah, the Tanakh, and the New Testament, as well as the Apocrypha and other sacred books. It is all there. The Father has given us many carnal examples as well as many spiritual examples. It's there, but it's not revealed until the Spirit open your eyes and give you the understanding. But it starts with receiving salvation first. You got to receive salvation first to be able to receive the other things. Okay? Okay. I'm trying to think of anything else. So if it's anything else, y'all, I'm going to save it in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this video. Just to recap on what we discussed for today, we learned today that the glory of Yah, which is revealed in Genesis chapter 1, foreshadows the what was, the past. Remember Adam. It also foreshadows the presence, and it foreshadows what yet to come. It shows us what it would be upon. It's upon our Father. It's upon his Son. And it was upon Moses and Noah And it will be upon the bride and the 144,000. And it will be definitely upon the new Jerusalem, the heavenly Jerusalem, which makes sense. Go back to the beginning. Because when we reflect on what we read today in Exodus chapter 40, and in your spare time, go to the book of Kings and the book of Chronicles and see what happened in the days of King Solomon. Do you understand what it was foreshadowing, what it was telling you? Because it would be upon this new holy city. And when this holy city comes down to the earth in that area, we will have no need for the sun and the moon to give their light unto us. Okay? But that light comes from the glory of Yah. That's a beautiful thing. And for the mystery of tabernacles, like I said, it's many mysteries, many messages. But one of the messages is unto the bride of the Messiah and the 144,000. We would dwell in our Father's house. We would always be before his presence. We would be with him and his son. That is our inheritance. Hint, hint. For the nation of Israel, I want you to read Ezekiel chapter 40 to 48 so you can understand what your inheritance shall be in the kingdom to come. All right. And to the Gentiles, this is a time for you to repent and make it right and to come in. You don't want to wait till after the Messiah comes. Because the highest inheritance, hint, hint, is what the bride and what the 144 receive. And fathers reminded me, I forgot to mention who makes up the 144. The 144 is only made up of Israelites, and we should have a representation from each tribe except Dan. Remember what his father wrote unto his children. Read the book of Dan and see why they are not in the 144. But they do have an inheritance. Okay. Also read the book of Genesis. It tells you why they're not in the 144. Okay. And also read the book of Ezekiel to see what is Dan's inheritance. But they are not listed in the 144. To get more understanding about Gentiles receiving salvation, there are videos on the channel. But if you have more questions, nobody knows, you can email me. Matter of fact, you can call me. Call me at 919-972-8970. Okay. You can call me to get understanding about the Gentiles. Remember, Adam is a Gentile. That's something that many Israelites don't think about. They be putting their mouths on these Gentiles, right? But Adam is a Gentile. Noah is a Gentile. Enoch's a Gentile. Okay. Shem is a Gentile. Abraham is a Gentile. All the way up, even, we know about Ishmael, and of course we know about Esau, but our father Isaac is a Gentile. The only one that is an Israelite, it starts with Jacob and his children. Remember, Jacob's name was changed to Israel because he was ordained by our father to be a prince, to be his son, which his son shall what? Produce a people unto him. Okay? So this called me. Because I'm telling y'all, there's nothing new underneath the sun. Look at who else came out from Egypt with the Israelites. Gentiles. That's why you see things written in Torah to to give the Israelite insights on the Gentiles about what they could partake in or what they could not, things like that. But the number one thing that's written throughout the whole Torah It is said that the same law for the Israelite is the same law for the Gentile, for those who enter into the covenant. Deuteronomy chapter 29, you will see that too. So Exodus chapter 12 and Deuteronomy chapter 29. There's nothing new underneath the sun. Father's telling me to remind you to read the prayer of Solomon. The prayer of Solomon after he had built the temple of Yah, and see what he said in that prayer. That's why I get kind of tickled within me, because those doctrines come from the synagogue of Satan. And I ain't gonna lie, I get tickled, but also it saddens that my heart that my brother has fallen from the doctrines, because when you understand about Adam, who Adam is, and when you understand why the second Adam had to come, then you will understand why the Father want the Gentiles to be saved too. Okay? Our Father made them. They are his children too. Okay? You're welcome. All right. I had said enough in this video. I hope y'all enjoy what we talked about today. I'm so sorry I left that piece off, but it's for a reason. Okay? But it's a beautiful thing to see how Torah foreshadowed the heavenly things to come unto us that existed in the beginning before the fall. All right. Continue to preach that the kingdom of heaven is at hand, for it's truly at hand, y'all. We can see the signs in the heaven and the earth. Make sure the people receive salvation as written in Romans chapter 10 and baptize them in the name of YAHUAH HaMashiach. For the Lamb set the example of the water baptism and the Holy Spirit baptism. And in this time where we have to dwell in our homes, you can do your baptism in your home. Just get in your bathroom, submerge yourself in water, and recite what is written in Romans 10. Receive YAHUAH HaMashiach in your heart, and the Spirit will do the rest. As far as the Holy Spirit baptism, I believe read Luke chapter 13. All you have to do is to ask our Father in his Son's name, and he shall give you the Holy Spirit baptism. As long as your heart is aligned with him, and your faith and your works. Remember, our Father knows you well, so he gives accordingly unto you on what he sees. All right, y'all. Shalom.